session for today. The focus session, Embracing Our Growth. Your moderator, Ifeyiwa Mogeku of Ife's Kitchen, is a multi-award-winning culinary expert and former corporate lawyer, a global food storyteller with over 7 million followers. She was a speaker at the 2025 Cannes Lions Festival. And our speaker as well, Hilda Bassi, a globally celebrated chef, restaurateur, and CEO of My Food by Hilda. She captivated the world with her historic 2023 Cookathon and continues to empower students through the Hilda Bassi Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome your moderator and speaker for the session, Embracing Our Growth.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. I'm so happy you're here. I'm super pleased. So guys, today we're going to be having a conversation with Hilda Bassi, as you all know her. And for this conversation, there's no right or wrong answer. It's pretty laid back, it's chill. You know, we want to talk about the creator economy. We know right now the creator economy is getting larger, it's expanding. There are many people who want to become creators now. But some of the challenges they have is they don't know the next step to take. And even those who know the next step to take, who are already creators, are probably wondering how to go viral, how to keep themselves, how to put themselves on the global stage, how to get opportunities for themselves. So these and other things we'll be discussing here with the amazing Hilda Bassi. So all right, let's settle in. Hilda. Okay, so we all know 3-time Guinness World Record holder. That's not small thing. Right. But we know behind this, there's a lot of work going on. There's a lot of consistency, there's a lot of intentionality. But before we delve into it, who is Hilda? What drives you? What makes you so focused? What are you obsessed about at the moment? And yeah, very current time. Let us know.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for such a wholesome welcome. I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted at all. The question who is Hilda is such a broad yet very simple, question. So I'll start by saying Hilda is a simple woman that takes every single opportunity as they come. I think it's no news that from when I was much younger, I always wanted to be famous. I always wanted to be a big star. And in the beginning, it started out wanting this fame or wanting that fame for many other things. But as time went on, the more I grew, the more opportunities I got, I gradually started to pivot. And, I would just say, you said what drives me, what I'm most excited about right now. I think at my very core, it's important to me that I'm a decent human being. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but that's, I'll say, my primary thing because it allows me to sleep well at night. So, away from the dreams, the goals, the career ambition, love, and everything else, I want to be somebody that I am proud of. And every single thing I do, every decision I take is pretty much fueled by that desire.
Wow. Well said. And we see this in everything you do, Hilda. So please, keep on being who you are, right? But one thing I've often wondered, Hilda, in a world where it looks like everywhere you turn to, they're content creators, it appears the creator economy is becoming saturated. Every day there's a new creator, how do you make yourself stand out? What strategy? What's the thing? What are the intentionalities or strategies behind everything you do that's made you stand out today?
I think I would say, and this is where quite a number of creators miss it. It is important to me that I am providing value. And this is something that I tell people that are aspiring content creators or existing content creators. With every single thing, which means that's value, I'm answering questions, right? If I'm trying to look good, I'm trying to promote look, I do it to the best of my ability. Now is that a lot of creators are more focused on virality and are more focused on attention as opposed to value. Now, it is not that wanting to be viral or wanting a viral moment is wrong, but the question is, what do you want that viral moment for? What is the thing that you want people to know you for? So if it is comic content, I would always say, ask yourself, if somebody watched the video that you put out, or someone looked at an initiative that you're working on, what does it say? Does this video make them laugh? Does it make them feel good? Does it make them feel motivated? What are your content pillars that drive what you do? So for me, I would say primarily, I don't just chase attention and virality. I focus on impact and value. And then the advantage of that is that the attention and the virality comes with it.
Right, I hear you. But the truth of the matter is, in this day and age, see people who, you've spoken a lot about being intentional, strategy, every single content you put out there, there's something behind it, something you're trying to achieve. But we see these days, so what do you have to say about that?
Some people think that is not making impact, but to some extent it is. It just may not make impact by your value standards and by your value proposition and perception. But some people want to watch somebody else make a fool of themselves so they can feel better about it. Is that you just want to be that person that every day, the dad is talking, oh, you're not doing anything. Well, at least I'm not on Instagram like this person. You get me? So it may not be the nicest thing by your individual value standards, but it works with your people. I mean, there are over 8 billion people in the world, right? And there is a community for however crazy your content is, which is why my pillars at the end of the day, I always say I want to be somebody that I am proud of. Now, that is based on my own value standards, and that will determine the kinds of things I engage in and the kinds of content that I consume. But there's a market for them regardless.
So we hear every day, to become a great creator, also want to reckon with, we hear this word consistency. Every single time we hear the consistent. What does consistency look like to you?
For me, I would say consistency is showing up even when you don't necessarily understand the roots. You understand? So, like for me, I didn't set out to be a content creator. I started out wanting to be a presenter, then wanting to be on TV, and even was a guest on my cooking show. And over time, I started creating content because I was trying to push my food business. So I started posting recipes because I believe that if you saw how I make food, you would know that the food is nice and you would want to patronize me. What happened over time was that the more people saw my recipes, people started to ask, do you teach? And because teaching is something I like, I did not even see the business side of it. I did it because I enjoyed it, which is where the passion now comes in. But seizing the opportunity is when I saw that there is a possibility for this to become a business, and this could actually make money, I built a system around it, and that's what gave birth to the University Academy, right? That academy is one of the things that made my many dreams come true. Opening my restaurant, doing the cookathon, and so many other things, right? So sometimes you have to just keep showing up, and you never know. I mean, I'm a believer, and I feel like God takes you on different paths, and it starts to make sense over time. But it is important that you show up, because if you don't show up, there's no person to lead. There is no path to follow. You have to show up first before you start to make that journey. So for me, consistency is showing up every single day. When I understand it, when I don't understand it, when I'm figuring it out, when it is difficult, I, show up, I do what I need to do, and I try my best to enjoy the process.
So basically, just that, and along the journey, it becomes clearer. Now, I'm sure everyone here witnessed you when you're trying to break the first world, the cookie cup, right? And you stood for close to 100 hours, if not more, right? 100 hours and 40 minutes. Now, my question to you would be, we saw the whole thing. We saw you get exhausted at some point. What gave you that mental strength to keep pushing? What made you not stop and say, you know what, I'm done? What was that thing?
It was many things at different points in time. In the beginning, I'll say like in the first day, it was, you spent a lot of money on this. There's so many people that have worked on this, and you've made a lot of noise, which means that if you fail, they are going to laugh at you. So in the beginning, it was more that like I don't want to disappoint anyone, I don't want to disappoint myself. And as the days progressed and more people showed up and there was so much more support, and I looked into the crowd, I understood at that point that it was no longer about me and what I wanted and what I was trying to achieve, but it was about the many people that were with me under the rain, cheering for me. I remember saying it in an interview that, they're not going to be tired of watching me cook. I said that with confidence, but in my heart I was like, oh my God, please, let them not leave me there, And just over time, seeing that support, at some point, that was what was giving me strength, and that was all that was keeping me going. Honestly, I say all the time that, but for God and the support that I got from Nigerians, I could not have done it.
So there are many, there are many creators out here who don't have that support that you have. Well, sorry, right? So what do you want to say to them at that point when they're about to give up, give in, break down, like they can't do this anymore? What do you think what should they fall back on to make them keep going?
Okay, so I would say that this is something that you need to do before the fact, not during. It is important that you build stamina before you even get to that crossroad. Before we got to the point where I had started cooking and I was 24 hours in and 48 hours in, I had asked myself, what is the worst possible thing that can happen? And it is that I wake up I'm standing there at 3 a.m. and there is absolutely no one cheering me on, and I'm just having to do what I need to do by myself. And I kept prepping myself, I was talking, I practiced a lot of talk therapy, and I was pretty much just praying about it. But no matter what happens, I have God, I have the Holy Spirit, and that is all I need. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So whatever it is that you intend to embark on, whether it's content creation, whether it's other forms of business or service providing, you need to build the stamina for when things get hard before it even gets to that point. Because if you don't think about the worst case scenario and you're thinking, and another thing is you shouldn't feel entitled to support. Because one of the reasons why I am so grateful for it, and even if I'm sick and I'm exhausted and I'm tired, somebody tries to take a picture, I remain very nice and very friendly, is because I don't feel entitled to the support that I got, so I am always grateful for it. So you need to remind yourself that the world doesn't owe you anything because you're a good person, or because you're talented, or because you're good at what you do, or because you're delivering value. That is for you to know and for you to hold on to and for you to understand. But remember that nobody owes it to you, because when you have that mindset, you will be grateful and you will be appreciative of every single support, whether it is the smallest one or the biggest one you get.
You said something that one of the things.
More minutes.
Okay, you said one of the things that kept you going was that Bible verse, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I can totally relate. That is one Bible verse I swear by. It keeps me going. No matter what you ask me to do today, even if I've never done it, I will always say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and I just get into it. So for Christians out there, I think that's something you want to hold on. You need to speak to yourself mentally and just believe you can do it and you will do it. Now for creators out, there's some many creators out there who have gone viral, but they have not been able to convert this attention into money. What do you want to say to them?
I would say it's a bit of a hard and sad time for creators today because there is so much we see. You started out when there was very little money in the industry, right? But we're having creators in this day and age where content creators are making so much money from views and engagement. YouTube is racking up millions of dollars, and you're asking, oh, why can't it be, right? This is a bit of an unorthodox advice because I am a bit of an unorthodox creator. I think it is important that you build a system while at it. And you have to find some form of value that you provide aside the primary content that you create. Like I say to you today that it's important to me that I'm a decent human being, which means I'm very focused on my brand. There's so many things I want to do. But I also know that that is easier because content creation is not the only thing that puts money on my table. I have a thriving, business, and not one, not two, multiple, right? And that allows me to be able to say no to certain things and walk away from certain things. And it also allows me, to maybe invest a little more in my content creation, which is why it looks, a little better than the average person's own. You get me? So I think that it is important that, you are realistic with the times that we're in. Nigerian creators are not monetized on quite a number of platforms, right? Which means that up until brands give you money to maybe market their products, or you build your brand to a point where people want you to represent them as a brand ambassador, there isn't much money coming in there. So how about, you do this in between having a job or selling something or having a business that gives you some level of stability and security whilst you're doing something else. I mean, Dara the Kitchen Lover had a full-time job and only used to create content in the middle of the night when she came back. It's a lot of stress. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but it allows you to not live your life from hand to mouth, under stress every single time, worrying about how the next bill is going to come. And that way, it helps you not to make bad decisions and do things that you would not be proud of by the time the fame comes, and you don't have to struggle with, oh, I'm rebranding, when you get to that place you're trying to get to.
I can totally relate. I had a 9 to 5 for so many years while creating content. I'll come back middle of the night, create my content and put it out there. So Hilda, we know you're passionate about African food and putting African food on the map, global map. So what do you believe is the next step towards putting West African food, not necessarily Nigeria now, West African food on the global map? What is the next step?
There's so many things, but I think one of my biggest concerns now is the dilution of our original recipes, where our recipes are considered local, and then to make it more fine dining, to make it more Michelin star, it is stripped down, of what its real essence is. So for me, it's important to me to show you how beautiful our culture is, how beautiful our food is in its rawest form and in its truest form. So whenever the elites decide to meet up to it, they will meet it at its core, like in its realness.
So no airs, no pretense. This is African food.
Yes.
Just put it on the table, and it really does deserve a place on that global table, just as it is. African food is delicious, it is healthy, it is nutritious, it is everything we say it is, and it deserves to sit at that table. Thank you so much, Hilda.